Hi everybody, it's 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning. Today we are in the 6th Sunday in Ordinary Time. Our text is a very long gospel text, so get ready for it when you go to church. Matthew chapter 5 verse 17 to 37. I'd recommend that you read it. It covers the 6 hypotheses of Jesus, where he says, you have heard it said to you, but I say to you. Now, I've entitled today's teaching, Religion Hanging by a Thread. Now, if you look at the Bible, for about 400 years before the coming of Jesus, the prophetic voice of God was silent. There were no prophets in this point of time, from the prophet Malachi all the way to John the Baptist. There was no prophet, and therefore there arose among the religious groups, the Jewish religious leadership, there arose groups, people who desired to be devoted to God and to serve God. Now, let me give an example. If today someone calls you a Pharisee, you would be offended, because the only connotation that conjures in your mind is a Pharisee is a hypocrite. So being called today a Pharisee is considered an insult, an offense. But this was not the case when these religious men, these separated men, that's what the word Pharisee means, my separated ones. These separated men, they separated themselves, men and women, principally men, in order to devote their lives in great fidelity to the law of God and to the teachings of the law of Moses, which is found in the Torah. So they desired to live a better life, a holy life. But here's the problem. In time, they lost the plot. So by the time of Jesus, the Mosaic law had taken on several interpretations. You know, these oral laws and traditions had more of restrictions than they had of prescriptions. The love of God was replaced by rigidity to these many man-made traditions and to their many oral teachings. Let me give you an example. The Mishnah is a collection of oral laws supplementing scriptural laws, and the Mishnah listed 39 primary kinds of labor that were not allowed on the Sabbath day. God, on the contrary, had just one law. He created only one law, and that was keep the Sabbath holy. The rest was interpretation and more interpretation and more interpretation, and for good measure, a whole lot of tradition also thrown in. Now, sadly, tradition seems to have more of a sway on us than the core elements of our faith. And I see this as a priest very strongly. And while I am generalizing, I'm generalizing from an experiential perspective. Now, very often, to give you an example, who places the crown on our Blessed Mother's head on the feast day, on the Nativity of Our Lady, and how it is placed and when it is placed? All this seems to take more precedence than the example of faith that should have been imbibed by us. It is for this reason that St. Matthew lists 6 hypotheses in rapid succession in the Gospel of today. Now, what is the point that Jesus wants to make, and what are these hypotheses? You see, the Pharisees had wrapped the law in a series of demands that left religion hanging by a thread. More thread, less religion. Religion had become a set of rules governed by human traditions. What was inconvenient was conveniently altered, and what could be ceremonialized was amplified more and more. It was the mind of Jesus, therefore, to rectify the inadequate interpretations of the law as interpreted by the scribes and the Pharisees. Now, Jesus did not come to abolish the law. So let's not go to the other spectrum. And this is what very often people do. They hear one perspective and they automatically and very wrongly go to the other end of the spectrum. So let's say this very clearly. That therefore Jesus did not come to abolish the law. He came to deepen it. And so, for example, as you will hear today, while he does not diminish the law on homicide, on murder, he doesn't say it's okay to murder, he went beyond it, yeah, and he questions even thoughts in the heart that are full of murder. So Jesus wants you and me, he wants his disciples to go beyond the law of the Old Testament by deepening and by radicalizing it to go back to the original will of God. That's why he will say, you have heard it said, but I, he is God, I say to you. You have heard it said from the Pharisees, from the scribes. Well, I say to you. So, when you look at what Jesus is doing, he's radicalizing the law, he's deepening the law. It's interesting, he never moves us into a lax direction. He doesn't say, okay, the law is tough, it's challenging, let me make it a little easier for you. Rather, Jesus moves us to give more, to love more, and hence they are called the hyperthesis. Yeah, you have a market, you have a hypermarket. Yeah, more and more and more. So the hyperthesis, God demanding the more. This is why 6 times, as I said, he will say, you have heard it said, but I say to you. And as I've taught before, I always say, Jesus says, I say to you, ye dil mange mo. Yeah, God is not happy with mediocre faith. Can I say that again? God is not happy with mediocre faith. God is not even happy, if I may say, with good faith. He wants more and more and more from us. And this is perhaps something that we want from ourselves. We want from the world. Yeah, we are never satisfied with the salary we have. We want, there you go, the word is more. In everything we want more. Why not God? Why can he not demand more from us? So today Jesus wants to challenge all of us, not just to live the traditions of popular faith, but to live in faith. Yeah, let me say that again. We are called not to live in the traditions of the popular faith. Let us live in faith. Jesus wants us to realize that it is not the gift we give him at Mass, but as he will teach us, the condition of heart that is more important to him. That is why he says, leave your gift there at the altar. Leave it and go reconcile with your brother and then come and offer your gifts. He wants those we hate to be placed not on our hit list, but he wants us to place them on our prayer list. He wants us to be holy in what we choose to see, to guard our eyes, to guard our lips, to guard our hearts. He is demanding more. Perhaps, my dear friends, we may have settled in and settled down thinking that we are good in God's eyes. I have news for you. Good is not good enough for the great and mighty God that we serve. I want to wish today Clarinda, who celebrates her birthday today, and also my dear friend Fran, who lives in Brisbane. Happy birthday, Fran, and happy birthday, Clarinda. To all of you, please do share this video. Please do subscribe to this channel. Somebody asked me the other day if you have to pay to subscribe to this channel. You don't have to pay, you just have to hit, there's a subscribe button, and so every time we put up a video, you will be informed about it on your YouTube channel. Thank you everybody, your cooperation, your help means a lot to me, and I want to say thank you to all of you who will offer a meal, either breakfast, lunch or dinner, to the children's home in Goa. God bless you, God preserve you.